I'm trying to spend time outside because once the cicadas arrive, I'm not going to want to do that. I'm going to want to hide in the house. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 39 of the Hilo Stitch podcast. I'm your host Kristen, and I am here to talk to you about what else? Knitting. And all things knitting related and knitting adjacent and maybe not so knitting adjacent. So if you don't know me already, my name is Kristen Janik. I'm a semi-retired knitting pattern designer, a knitting instructor, and all-around knitting enthusiast. I live in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. with my husband and two little boys, ages 6 and 8. And when I am not knitting, does that really happen? I also enjoy yoga, watching Orioles baseball, vegetable gardening, and drinking wine, but it is mostly about the knitting, so let's go ahead and start talking about it. All right, I just want to give you guys a peek at what I am wearing today that is hand knit. This is my outline tank. This is a pattern by Jessie Mae Martinson, Jessie Mae Designs, that I test knit for her earlier this year. The yarn is Shibui Knits Twig, which is a linen silk and I want to say 10% wool blend. If you watched the previous episodes, you know I had to do some last minute fixes to get my outline tank fixed because I can't count. So mine is not quite even. You will have better results with your outline tank. But this is just a really nice, drapey, loose, cool fitting tank for a warm weather day. It is in the 80s here. I just have a bralette underneath, so this is nice and cool and comfortable. And you can see it has these lines of drop stitches down the front and along the sides. So it does make it a little bit see-through right in the middle, which is why I have the sort of, it's okay if you see it bralette on underneath. Rather than a traditional bra. And that is my outfit for the day. For on and off the needles today, I'm excited to share that I have something off the needles. And a little birdie just told me that it is perfectly okay to let you guys see it now, so I will do so. Ta-da! These are my open edge shorts. This is part of a test knit for Jessie Mae Martinson of Jessie Mae Designs. And this is part 1 of a 2-part test knit that I am still working on for a little t-shirt and short set. Now I decided to go ahead with this test knit because the design kind of goes with the outline tank that I also tested for Jessie Mae. So I decided, why not go ahead and keep going with that? So I have finished the short. These have actually been done for a couple of weeks, but I wanted to hold off until I got the go-ahead to show you guys. So I knit my shorts in Quince & Company Sparrow, which I had picked up from one of the shops that had committed to suspending their wholesale accounts with Quince & Company until a lot of the issues related to the company were resolved, but of course they already had some yarn in stock. So I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I picked this up because it is a 100% linen yarn in a fingering weight. I just want to show you guys how to get in on the details here with that lace along the waist as well, or that open edge. So you can see open here and open along the legs, and it has a folded over waistband. And I got one of the marl colorways of the yarn. And this is not my first time knitting with, let's try that again. Not my first time knitting with linen. I have knit with linen before. My outline tank is a, not 100% linen, but has a lot of linen in it. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it is mostly linen with a little bit of silk and a teeny bit of wool. And I've also have a linen t-shirt design myself that I did a few years ago. So as far as working with linen goes, the Quince & Company yarn was very soft, much softer than I would expect from linen. However, the fabric really, really biases in stockinette. So I really had to, and I noticed this while I was knitting. So normally you want to put your linen in the washer and the dryer because that's actually going to help it soften up. And it's also going to shrink it a little bit, at least in this case. So what I did with this is I put it in the wash on the delicate cycle, and then I put it in the dryer until it was, let's say 70% dry, and then I pinned it out because I wanted it to have a nice shape. Those now finished object photos. And then I really had to pin it out to kind of counteract that biasing. And it's probably not visible to you guys. If I turn this around, it's got really nice shaping on the buttons as well. But I can see, looking through it, that center seam that runs down sort of the front and then the back, they don't line up because the fabric is biasing so much. So I am not thrilled about that. These are a casual short. It's not the end of the world. The other problem though is that, like I said, I didn't dry it all the way because I wanted to be able to pin it out, try to get rid of that biasing. And then the result is it didn't shrink as much as it needs to. These are too big for me right now. So before I take those finished object photos, because she's gonna publish this pattern in mid-May, I think is the deal. Before I take those finished object photos, I think I'm gonna try washing it again, and this time maybe put it in the dryer until it's a good 90% dry, and then pin it out and see, first if it can shrink up a little bit more, and then if I can still get it to not bias quite so much. So we'll see. The pattern itself is wonderful. It is very well written. It is, the folded over waistband. Anytime you're doing a folded over hem or waistband or anything, it's going to be a little bit fiddly, but easy enough to get through that part. You can see that it does have an I-cord drawstring, and you just fold that up in there before you knit the two sides of the waistband together so that it is ensconced in there. You could also probably pull it through afterward. So it's a wonderful pattern. I am currently working on the matching t-shirt, but I have not made much progress there, so there is not much to see. I will show you anyway, but so I have the shirt going. The shirt is knit, or the t-shirt is knit from the bottom up, and you can see, you can see it on the needles, how much this fabric is pulling over to my right. It is just, I have not had this problem with linen in the past. I did not have this problem with the outline tank. I did not have this problem with my t-shirt design that I did, which is called the Boardwalk Tee, which is also almost entirely stockinette. So, some people say that it's the linen that tends to bias, but in my experience, or at least that has not been my experience. I have used linen before and have not had this problem. So I have to assume it's the specific yarn. But the color is really pretty. It is this marled kind of pinky purple. So when you look up close, you can see there's one strand of like a lighter color and one of the darker color that are spun together. And as I said, it is really soft. It's softer than other linens I've worked with. It softens up in the dryer. It will hopefully soften up more when I wash and dry it that second time. But I'm not 100% thrilled with the yarn. So hopefully I will give you guys an update after I wash and dry these again, and hopefully get some of those really cute finished object photos. As I said, I believe she's going to release this kind of in mid-May, so that's a couple more weeks to go. But really cute. And I will hopefully by that time have the t-shirt to show you as well, which is absolutely adorable. You can see this is not something I'll be wearing out and about because this is pretty see-through, you know, but for lounging around the house or the backyard in the summer, I think this is going to be great. In fact, if I had gotten them to shrink up the way they were supposed to, I might be wearing them today because it is a balmy 82 degrees here in central Maryland the end of April, which is not unheard of, but it doesn't bode well for the summer, and it also doesn't bode well for the cicadas who are likely to start coming out early. And you can go back and watch the other episode about cicadas, but I do not like them. So I do have that off the needles and the t-shirt in progress. What else do I have going on? I've made a little bit of progress on my knot front tee. Nope. On my Ridgeview Tee. I'm right in the middle of a row, so that's convenient. I say that because I am, this is my current Make 9 2021 project, Ridgeview Tee by Carrie Bloomer, and my current Finish Fix Frog project is the Knot Front Crop, which is also by Carrie Bloomer. So I'm working on two of her patterns right now. And if you want more information about Finish Fix Frog, I will go ahead and put that little dealie up here, and you can click the link and head over there and watch some of those Finish Fix Frog vlogs to learn more about that. But in terms of current whips that have not been on the needles for years, I've got my Ridgeview Tee. Just I finished all the shaping that is at the bottom, which creates a split hem. It has this really nice shaping along here, so that's all done, and now it is just working this kind of textured rib pattern up to the back armhole. So this is a really easy to memorize pattern, so this is sort of my go-to easy mindless knitting project. I am again using this dapple yarn from Brooklyn Tweed, which is a wool cotton, so this isn't too bad to knit outside on these nice weather days that we're having. I am trying to spend time outside because once the cicadas arrive, I'm not going to want to do that. I'm going to want to hide in the house, which is really, you know, after this last year of being stuck in the house, to have this be the cicada summer is just it's a real bummer. But so that I'm not moving particularly swiftly. It's not a huge priority. It is not probably going to be cool enough to wear a wool cotton blend again here until at least September. So that is not a rush, and I also just have a lot of other stuff kind of going on. I have made some good progress on my updated, what I say is my stitches are falling off the needle. I've made some good progress on my updated Going Steady cardigan that I'm going to be re-releasing this summer with new sizes and a new sample in yarn that's not discontinued. And so I have made it all the way to the armholes, and I'm about to divide for the sleeves. So this is a pretty simple sweater to work at this point. It is all stockinette. There are some color block stripes on the sleeves, there are some pockets on the lower body, and then there's a big shawl collar. But at this point, I'm going to separate for the sleeves, and then I'm just going to, knit the body in the round until it's time to work on those pockets. So this is another pretty simple knit that I'm going to be able to pick up and put down easily, but this is not something I want sitting in my lap outside when it's 82 degrees. So again, this is the Knit Picks Simply Wool. So this is a 100% eco wool that is plenty soft, but boy is it heavy. I'm really happy with the stitch defen on that. Wow, I can't speak today. I'm very happy with the stitch definition with this yarn. There's not, as I said, a lot going on with this pattern, but I do have the sleeves worked in reverse stockinette, and I really like kind of the sharp contrast here for the sleeves and the raglan lines. I think it stands out really nicely with this yarn. So what am I, oh, there's some some veg matter. So that, again, something I have been working on and just kind of put down for the last few days, just because I get mildly annoyed with the process of moving the sleeves onto the scrap yarn. But other than that, you know, it's fine. I just have to like be in my studio. I have to have the scrap yarn ready to get going and move the sleeves, and usually I'm downstairs and you don't have all those things. So progress being made here as well, and still on track to re-release that pattern later in the summer with that nice new sample. And I've got some sample knitters moving along as well, and not sample knitters, test knitters. And speaking of test knitters, I have also been just started really on a new sample for a pattern I'm going to be re-releasing also later this summer. I have not done much so far. This is called the Decal Chalet, and this is a small chalette that I published with Knit Picks 3 years ago, I think. Designed with gradient yarns in mind. It's a very simple design that uses drop stitches to create a sort of vertical rows of eyelets, kind of like the outline tank. And I'm gonna, I wasn't thrilled with the way that the sample that they did turned out. And that is the really nice thing about publishing with Knit Picks, is that they take care of knitting the sample and photographing it and all of that stuff. So that is great, but I thought the sample could have been blocked better to show off the design. So at first I decided I needed a new sample. And then I decided I would kind of rewrite the pattern. It doesn't take much, it's just some careful, you know, yarn calculations. Rewrite the pattern to basically be worked with any weight yarn. Because like I said, it's just using some drop stitches and it is knit side to side. So you just take however much yarn you have, use about half of it up until the first half, and then you knit the second half. So you just have to keep, you know, an eye on how much yarn you're using. But in order to figure out how much yarn each kind of weight yarn might need, I really need some test or preview knitters to kind of help figure that out, because I'm not going to knit a shawl in like 6 different yarn weights. But then I did decide to go ahead and start another sample of my own with some reclaimed yarn. So if you watch any of the old Finish Fix frog vlogs that I had linked earlier, one of the things that I frogged earlier in the year was it's called Hitchhiker shawl that I really just wasn't happy with the gauge that I had been knitting to. It was too tight. The shawl seemed kind of stiff with the particular yarn that I had chosen. So this was a gradient yarn, and this is just a teensy part of it. The rest of it is over on my unused sewing table. So this is a gradient Riften from Jill Draper Makes Stuff that I ripped out and rewound, and I thought it would be good for this because, as I said, I originally designed it to go with gradient yarns. So I couldn't help it. I had to cast on another sample myself, so I don't know. We'll see if that actually gets done. It's, as I said, I do have 2 sample knitters knitting new samples in fingering weight and worsted weight, and then I also have some preview knitters working on, you know, whatever yarn they want to use, just working up a sample so we can get some ideas of how it looks in different kinds of yarn. So that's not a super essential. I'm being attacked by a bumblebee outside. So it's not super essential that I get it done, but for some reason it jumped on the needles anyway. I think that's all I have to show you in this episode. I do have a bit of a stash flash for you today, just a little one. I was on Instagram, and a newer, I want to say, designer, or maybe just less well known, I don't know how long she's been working, a newer designer that I had started following because earlier this year, I think, she published a beautiful sweater design that I immediately added to my queue. On her Instagram, she posted a call for test knitters for a new project, and I decided to go ahead and join. I don't know what I'm doing. Just keep joining these test knits, even though I really wanted to have less deadline knitting this year. She posted that, and I decided to volunteer my services, and so I got signed up for that test knit, and then I bought yarn. So the test knit is for an upcoming Brooklyn tweed pattern, and there was a discount offered if you wanted to purchase the appropriate yarn from Brooklyn Tweed for your test knit. So I went ahead and did that because I knew I didn't have anything already in my stash that I wanted to use, so I figured why not. So I got some yarn. This is Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. This colorway is called Postcard, and as you can see, it's kind of like a gray, pinky purple. A little flecks of color in there, really kind of heathered and lightly speckled looking in. Really happy with this color, although when I went to buy the yarn, there were one or two other colors that I was interested in, and they were sold out. So that was kind of a bummer, but this is I think a very nice color for the project. And then I can actually show you how it's going to knit up a little bit, because I have already finished my swatch, which you'll be seeing in another segment coming up. So I did swatch for this, and you can see how, I mean, from a distance, just kind of a purpley, pinky gray, but when you get close up, you can really see the different kind of colors popping through. So I am really happy with this color, and I'm not sure, however, about working with the yarn. I've only used Shelter once before. It is very soft, but it has this quality where it almost looks felted. It is a woolen spun yarn, and that gives it a little bit more of that rustic, loose, airy. I mean, this is very, very, very light and airy quality, but I don't know that I love the texture of the fabric. I think it'll be nice and cozy, but kind of depending on what you're knitting. I don't know about, this stitch definition. So for this particular project, based on what I have seen, because it is a test knit, it'll be fine. But yeah, that sort of sharp, crisp stitch definition is not there. So I've only seen a part of the test knit because they have to keep it secret. So we'll just have to wait and see whether it ends up being a good match. But that's what the designer picked, and that's what the folks over at Brooklyn Tweed picked, and they must think it's a good match. So I have completed my swatch, and I've got this beautiful new yarn, and of course you will not be seeing this again until that pattern comes out, and I want to say that's a winter 2022 pattern, so it's going to be a while. Yet the test knit is due. Like, I have to have the first part done, but in like 2 weeks. I know I'm very familiar with this, but I'm still always a little bit frustrated by how far ahead sort of the design business has to work. But while I was, so the way that this test knit is working is that we are, the draft pattern has been uploaded to a platform for us to comment on, all the test knitters. And the first thing I noticed was that the garment was knit in the round, but the gauge for the garment was listed as X stitches, Y rows. So I just commented and said, when you're working in the round, it's traditional to present your gauge in the round as well. And some of the comments from the other testers were just a little bit disheartening. One person said they thought it was more common to see X stitches and Y rows, but to specify that you should knit in the round. Someone else said something similar and then said that knitters never swatch in the round. So I had to do a bit of an emergency blog post because it is just a terrible, terrible idea for you to swatch flat for things that are knit in the round. Now, it's better than not swatching at all. I will give you that. If that's what you can do, okay, but it's really not a great idea. And so I did an emergency blog post, and I have given everyone special free access to the or an excerpt of the video lesson that I do in my Swatch Master e-course, discussing how to swatch flat in the round like I've done here. And so essentially, you are still creating a flat swatch. You are using a little bit of extra yarn, but not as much as if you were trying to, swatch on a 16-inch circular needle. But your swatch is still flat, which makes it easier to measure your gauge. And so I will link in the information box down below to the blog post as well as to the tutorial I posted for this, which I said is a very special free excerpt for my Swatch Master course, because I really want to make sure you guys know that if you're knitting in the round, you really need to swatch in the round. It does matter. So I hope you'll check that out if you want to hear more about that. But that is all the new yarn that I have to show you in this episode. Okay, so in this segment, I'm going to show my husband, knitting things, and we'll see how well he's been listening to me for the last 10 years.
Oh my God. I wasn't expecting this. What is that?
Good question. What is this?
It's a thingy where you put the needle inside and you put it through. Yeah.
Okay. For what?
To mark the stitch.
Aha. So it is a.
What?
It is a
stitch marker.
There we go.
You have many different shapes of stitch markers.
Thank you. I don't think they need a lecture.
Oh.
Stitch marker. We have one. What is this?
It's something that you find in a haystack. A needle. Right? That yolk.
What kind of needle?
It's not a knitting needle because those are bigger. It's a threading needle. See, you put a thread. Yes, you put a thread in the eye right here, and you see.
And what do I use it for?
To make changes to needs that were already made, and you may need to need a slight adjustment. No. Okay. To do the smaller, to pull out a stitch that is gone wrong.
No.
Oh, well, I give up.
This, as everyone watching knows, is a yarn needle, which is either used to sew knitted pieces together or to weave in your ends when you're done.
Right at the tip of my tongue.
10 years. All right. What is this?
It's like a sample thingy that you use to make sure that you are doing the right pattern. No?
You want to try again?
It's a swatch.
Good, there we
Swatch,
go.
yeah, swatch, yes.
I mean, I have an entire e-course about them. I would hope you would know what it's called. What is it for?
If you have a dollhouse and you need a little rug, then you see this is perfect for a little rug for your dollhouse. Yeah. No?
Do I have a dollhouse?
No.
So why would I have this?
For your nieces. Yeah.
I don't have any.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I don't have any nieces that I actually see ever.
Well. maybe you have an Aladdin doll and you put it in there and then I can show you the world.
All right, let's not get into any copyright violations here as you sing badly for YouTube. So no, you have no idea what this is used for.
It's as a sample.
As a sample for what?
For a bigger garment, right? So you know that you are getting the right pattern in there.
And then
No.
You're so close, and then you just threw it all
Wait,
away.
it's a sample for what? To know that you're doing it right, right?
What do you mean doing it right?
Yeah, because sometimes you don't have it, it doesn't look like the way you want it, and then you see, oh no, this design is not right. So I need to change it so it starts to look like the way you want it.
But why wouldn't I just change it when I was knitting the thing?
Because it's too much work to do the whole thing. It's better to just do one sample, and then once you got it right, then you say, okay, now I can proceed with the whole garment. Right?
So close, yet so far away.
So, okay, tell me, Kristen, what is this for?
Your swatch is used to check your gauge. What's your gauge? You're not even holding it right side out.
The gauge is the size of your needle. If you have the right size, no?
There we go.
Yeah, I said it. Yeah, the size of your needle. So that way you know if you're doing it too wide or, right?
Wide?
I mean the thing is between if it's too much or too little. That.
Okay.
That.
Almost there after like 10 minutes of waffling. You got really close to the answer. Wow.
Yeah.
Good job. Thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. And if you want to learn more about knitting, just send me an email or a WhatsApp or something. Okay?
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
Bye.
So a few episodes back, I told you guys that the pre-orders had opened for the new issue of Nomadic Knits. That is issue 9, Iowa, Nebraska. And I am so excited to share that I got my copy. So I have a new pattern in this. It is called Whiskey and Rye. It is a colorwork swancho that rather than using 2 different colors, it uses 2 different textures to create a chevron design all over the swancho. So let's see, I'll show you guys a little picture if I can find it. I think I would have marked it since it's my own pattern. So here is a picture. The swancho includes 3 sizes, and it's sort of designed to fit a variety of bodies in only 3 sizes, just kind of depending on how much ease you would like to have in your swancho. Overall though, this is a really beautiful magazine. If you've never had the chance to check this out, maybe ask your local yarn store about stocking this. It's just, it's a really sturdy quality, really, thick paper, all these special details in the back. Look, it has a ruler built in. It has note paper. And it has, come on, paper with little dots if you prefer that rather than lines. And then it has like graph paper, so you can do little charts if you want to. You need to make notes or modify anything that's in here. There are some really interesting, I want to say, I don't know if articles is the right word, but there's a bit of history in here. The schematics are really cute and hand drawn. It's adorable. Just beautiful photos, and of course really cute patterns, and there's even a drink recipe. But obviously really adorable patterns in here as well. So there is my swancho. There are a couple of other sweaters. This just had this really pretty shawl. I don't know the total number of patterns in here. I think this sweater is sure to be popular. But it is just a really beautiful magazine, really high quality. You can just tell how much time and effort went into creating this. And in particular, if you maybe are from Iowa or Nebraska, I think you'll really appreciate the effort that went into this. So as I said, this is issue 9 of Nomadic Knits. Definitely talk to your local yarn shop about stocking the print edition of this magazine. I know Nomadic Knits, each issue is sort of location themed, and they've already done one for DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and I lost my train of thought, and some other locations I am sure as well. So well, I only have just this one beautiful print edition for me. I do have a giveaway for you guys, which is a code to download the digital edition for free from Ravelry. So if you are interested in winning that, please leave a comment down below. You can go over to their website, which I will link to, or to Ravelry, and check out all the patterns. Leave a comment, let me know which pattern is your favorite. You do not have to say my pattern. I will appreciate it, but you do not have to say my pattern. You can just tell me which one of the patterns is your favorite, and I will pick a winner and announce it in the next episode to win that code to download the digital edition of Nomadic Knits, issue 9, Iowa, Nebraska. All right, so how are we all doing? As we are somehow getting very close to the end of, well, by the time you're watching this, it is definitely the end of April, and it may very well be early May. I am really looking forward to the summer, perhaps more than usual, since it means I won't have to be homeschooling my son anymore. I love my son dearly. Homeschooling a kindergartner is just not my preferred activity. So I am happy to share that my husband and I got our first dose of the vaccine. We were able, shortly after Maryland opened vaccination to everyone, we were able to get an appointment to get the Moderna vaccine. And at the time we got the vaccine, they went ahead and automatically scheduled us for the second dose. So by the end of May, we will both be fully vaccinated. I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, we will continue to take precautions and to be safe and to limit our indoor time and all of those things, but just sort of to be able to get together with other friends and family that have been vaccinated and to get out a little bit without, so much worry, and really looking forward to that. And that is, I'm sure, the most exciting thing that's happened around here lately. Kids are still schooling, homeschooling, virtual schooling. My oldest son seems to have very kind of suddenly developed allergies, especially the last few days. It has been warm, and he's sneezing all the time. His eyes seem to be itching and bothering him. So today it is warm, and we, normally I would just have the windows open because it's warm, but it's breezy. But the allergies have been bothering him so much, I went ahead and closed all the windows and turned the air conditioning on, which seems like a real shame this early in the year, but it is just really bothering him. And that definitely hasn't happened in the past, so I don't know why. I don't know if there's something particular about this year or what, but poor guy, he is all itchy-eyed and sniffly. Just lost another tooth. And he got $1 from the Tooth Fairy, and he has been saving up so that he could unlock Super Mario Run on the iPad. So he did that this morning, and I was trying to tell him, you spend this $10, but you don't get a physical thing. You just get this game, and eventually you're going to be bored with this game, and then you're going to still be out $10. But it's his money, and sometimes you need to learn these things on your own. So we did that this morning, and I mean, it's been like 6 hours, and he's pretty happy. So we'll enjoy that while it lasts, I hope. And yeah, for him, that's the most exciting thing that's happened. Although he does know that we got the first shot of our vaccine, and that means this summer, we'll be able to do a few more things. I can go to the zoo, since it's outside, and so now he's just been asking constantly when we can go to the zoo. And he's still in school, and I'm certainly not going to the zoo on the weekends. So he just has to wait patiently for that. And other than that, it has just been knitting and kind of enjoying some of the warmer weather despite his allergies. My garden is getting started. I've already had a salad with totally homegrown lettuce and arugula. That's about the only thing, of course, at this point that's ready, but this weekend I'm planning to go ahead out and prepare my garden beds, and then probably the following weekend go ahead and plant all of my vegetable seedlings. That's a teeny bit early. Traditionally in this area, they say not until Mother's Day. Mother's Day is also early this year, but I, knock on wood, I really don't see it getting too cold, and I also want to get it done before the cicadas get here. I know the cicadas are going to be in my garden, and I can just get them planted, then for the being attacked by a bumblebee again. Then for the month, 6 weeks, the cicadas are here, I can kind of just let things grow. Well, we shall see. So I did move I planted seedlings for dye plants, and I did move those flowers outside. If you've been watching the podcast for a while, you know that I had originally planned to put in a dye garden on the side of my home, but I think I've come to the conclusion that it just doesn't get enough sun there to make it worth the effort. So this year I'm probably going to stick with keeping things in potted plants. Next year I might, well, maybe late this summer, I might try putting in a kind of a dye garden in the front of my home. There's a small area right now that is a couple of rose bushes, and I don't really have the patience to deal with roses. So it's a couple of rose bushes, some flags that usually come up in the spring, and then the rest just gets overrun with weeds. If I want to use it, I think I've got to put a border around it and put some soil in. Our soil around here is basically just clay. So it's going to take some prep, but I think that doesn't get a ton of sun, but I think it gets more than the side of the house, and I think it's going to work better. The other problem with the side of the house is that it doesn't drain very well. Hollyhock, cosmos, black knight scabiosa, Dyer's chamomile, Dyer's coreopsis, and I tried planting indigo, but so far I just have this one sad itty bitty seedling coming up, so I don't know how that's going to work out, but we shall see. And let's see, is there anything of interest that I should be talking about in the news or pop culture? I didn't watch the Oscars. I don't think I saw a single movie in the last year. I'm sure there are some good ones out there. I just have not been in the mood to watch anything that is serious or dramatic in any way. I just want to be entertained, and that's not usually kind of Oscars fare. That's, so no, didn't watch that. Don't know who won. Yeah, no, we are still kind of in our in our little isolated bubble here, not doing much of anything and apparently not engaging in pop culture whatsoever because now we're middle-aged. All right, thank you all so much for joining me for episode 39 of the Hilo Stitch podcast. Show notes with links to everything that I talked about can be found over on my website at mediaperuana.com/Hilo-Stitch. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons who help keep this podcast and the entire Media Peruana Knits YouTube channel up and running. If you would like to support the podcast and the channel and get some perks and freebies and behind the scenes goodies, you can find more information at patreon.com/mediaperuana. Here on YouTube, if you could please like, comment, subscribe, share. Don't forget to leave a comment for the giveaway. All of that helps expand the reach of the podcast and the entire Media Peruana Knits YouTube channel full of all those really handy free knitting tutorials. If you are looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Media Peruana, and I will see you next time.